shouldn't have listened.
The snow started filling our footprints from underneath. Not from falling flakes, from pressure pushing up through the trail. Our headlamps showed 4 people on the ridge and 5 shadows in front of us. And when we stopped to listen, one pair of breaths kept going. My name is Noah. This happened 3 winters ago on the Canadian side of the Rockies, somewhere between Kananaskis and Banff. Backcountry loop, 2 nights in a hut, 1 night in tents. We were prepared. Avalanche beacons, radios, GPS, the whole checklist. I'd done that loop 6 times. I thought I knew every bend in that valley. There were 4 of us, me, my cousin Jake, and a couple, Aaron and Mark from Calgary. Temperatures were brutal, -20 with the wind. So we moved in a tight line, snowshoes punching clean, even holes into the hardpack. I noticed the first wrong thing around 4 p.m. We'd been following a fresh powder section on a ridgeline, single file. My headlamp wasn't on yet, just blue dusk. I glanced back, checking our trail out of habit. Our prints were shallower than they should have been. The first ones we'd made, half an hour back, looked puffed up from below, like the snow was trying to push them closed. Wind, I told myself. Spindrift, settling, anything. Then Jake said, too casually, "Hey, we picked up a buddy." I turned. He was pointing at the line of prints behind us. There were 5 sets, not 4. Not a stagger, not animal. 5 human-sized tracks in a perfect row, as if someone had been walking at the very back of our group the entire time. "Someone passed us earlier," Mark said. "No one passed us," I said. "I'm Sweep, I'd have seen a headlamp." We all stood there, breathing steam, staring at the tracks. The 5th line started about 20 meters back. No approach from the side, no trail coming in or leaving, just appearing. One print, then another, keeping pace with ours. "Move," I said. "We're losing light." We pushed on. Every few minutes I looked back. The 5th tracks never fell behind. The snow around them looked wrong, less crisp, more melted? Like whoever it was ran warm. I called out a couple of times. "Hey, you okay back there?" No answer. Just our own breaths. And something else, slightly out of sync. A half beat behind, like an echo in lungs. By full dark, the wind dropped off. Sound travels weird up there when it's that cold. Too clear. The squeak of our snowshoes was loud as screams. Somewhere around 7 p.m., I realized something else. My shadow was wrong. Our headlamps were all pointed forward, beams overlapping. In that kind of darkness, shadows stretch ahead of you, long and thin. I counted 4 beams, 4 silhouettes on the snow, but 5 long shadows. "Stop," I said quietly. We stood in a clump, the world nothing but haloed breath and stars. I counted out loud. 1, 2, 3, 4. I touched shoulders as I did it. Everyone was there. "Why are we stopping?" Aaron asked. I didn't answer. I was staring at the shadow beside mine. It was the same height as me, same build, same pack shape, but it wasn't aligned. It was overlapping my shadow by a few inches, sharing it, like something was standing just inside my footprint, one step behind. I killed my headlamp. The others followed a beat later. The darkness hit like a wall. For a second there was nothing, no light, no depth. Then I heard it. Snow compressing. One step, right behind my boots. Just one. My chest went hollow. "Back on," I croaked. 4 beams flicked up. The shadows snapped back into place. 4. The 5th was gone. We pushed hard the next hour, no one talking. When we finally reached the hut, a simple Parks Canada cabin, 4 bunks, a cold stove, I almost cried with relief. The thermometer on the wall read -27. Our gear creaked with frost as we peeled it off. Inside, with the door shut and the stove roaring, the world shrank to orange lights and wet wool smells. We decided to check our GPS track, partly to plan the next morning, partly to prove to ourselves we weren't losing it. Erin handed me her unit. The breadcrumb line showed our approach clear as day, a smooth curve along the ridge, 4 speed variations where we'd stopped. At each pause, the line jittered. "Glitch," Mark said. Then the unit buzzed. The track replayed itself like an animation, a little arrow running along our route. Halfway through, a second arrow appeared. No label, no starting point, just popping into existence about 20 meters behind us, following perfectly. When we stopped, it didn't. It drifted closer each time. On the last segment, as we neared the hut, I watched the tiny ghost arrow slide into mine. They merged. The line pulsed once, then the second arrow vanished. Nobody spoke for a long time. That night, the wind came back. It howled around the cabin, rattling the shutters. The bunks were stacked. I took the lower, near the door. At some point, I woke up, freezing. The stove was a dying glow. There was a new sound, very soft, very regular. Snow squeaking under weight. Not outside, under the floor. The hut was raised on short pylons, maybe 2 feet off the ground. I could hear it clearly. Someone walking slowly, matching the shape of the cabin. Step, step, step. I held my breath. The footsteps stopped directly under me. The mattress dipped. Not much, just enough that my body recognized another weight settling on the bunk. Something pressed into the underside of the slats, like a shoulder pushing up from below, aligning itself with mine. Warmth moved into the mattress, into my bones. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. Right by my ear, at the level of the wood, I heard breath. Slow. A half beat behind mine. When I inhaled, it inhaled. When I held my breath, it held too. Waiting. Learning. It stayed there until dawn. In the morning, we all pretended nothing happened. We packed fast. When I stepped outside, the sight almost dropped me to my knees. Under the hut, in that narrow crawl space, the snow was untouched. No prints. But the trail leading away from the cabin, only for the first 100 meters, showed 5 sets of tracks again. The 5th set walked exactly inside mine. Each of my prints was deeper, like something had pushed up from underneath, testing the fit. I don't go winter camping anymore. I stick to day hikes, near town, crowded trails. Still, some nights when fresh snow falls and I step outside my apartment, I see my own footprints filling from beneath as I walk. Like something that learned me on that ridge is still there, one step behind, trying to line up just right. Waiting for the night, I finally stop moving. The footsteps around our tents started as a wide circle. By midnight, they were brushing the nylon. By 3 a.m., they weren't outside anymore. And when the zipper finally moved, it came from inside the ring of sleeping bags. My name is Claire. I live in Toronto now, but I grew up in northern Ontario. My older brother and I spent our teens canoeing Algonquin Park every summer. I thought nothing in the bush could actually scare me. I was wrong. This was late September, shoulder season. Chilly nights, no bugs, fewer people. Perfect. We pulled a 5-day loop with 2 friends, Dylan and Zoe, hitting some of the more remote lakes off the main routes. By day 3, we hadn't seen another canoe in almost 24 hours. The site we picked that night was beautiful. Rocky point jutting into a narrow lake, jack pines leaning over the water like they were eavesdropping. We set up 2 small tents in a slight hollow above the shoreline and built our fire on a flat granite slab. The first weird thing happened at dusk. We heard paddling. Not ours. Someone else's. The sound came up the lake, steady strokes, hull knocking softly in the troughs. We all turned, expecting to see another canoe slide into view. Nothing. The sound passed us. We could hear it as clearly as if it was right below the point. Paddle, knock, then fading beyond into empty water where there was no boat. Echo? Zoe said. From what, I didn't know. The opposite shore was a wall of dark trees. After dinner, we sat around the fire, talking quietly. The lake went dead calm, no loons, no fish surface, just black glass. Then the footsteps started. Crunch of boots on dry needles somewhere back in the trees behind the site. Slow, deliberate, coming closer. Dylan grabbed his headlamp, swung it toward the sound. Nothing. Just trunks and shadow. Probably a deer, my brother said, but I could hear the lie in his voice. Deer don't walk in perfect circles. That was the pattern. You could map it with your eyes closed. 10, 15 paces through the brush, crunching around us in a ring maybe 20 meters out. Never closer, never farther. We called out, "Hey, you okay out there?" No answer. The footsteps just kept tracing that invisible perimeter. After half an hour, they stopped abruptly. The silence after was worse. We banked the fire and turned in. 2 per tent. Me and Zoe in one, the guys in the other. The nylon walls glowed faint orange from the embers. I lay there listening to the small sounds of the forest, waiting to drift off. For a little while, it was almost peaceful. Then I realized the circle had started again. Closer. Our fire was almost out, so the sound felt disembodied, just darkness moving. Boots on earth. The ring had tightened to maybe 10 or 12 meters. I could hear needles brushing pant legs. A small rock kicked. Zoe whispered, "You hear that?" Yeah. The footsteps made one full loop, then another. Then another. No branches snapping like something cutting through randomly. It walked the same path over and over, like it was wearing a groove. I checked my watch. It circled us for 40 minutes. We didn't call out this time. Eventually, it stopped again. The quiet that followed felt thick, like we'd been sealed in something. I must have dozed off because when I opened my eyes again, the glow on the tent had changed. The embers were dead, only starlight now. The footsteps were back, right outside. The sound had shrunk to a tight ring brushing the tents themselves. I could hear boot soles sliding on the tarp we'd put under the vestibules. Every few passes, the toe of whoever it was nudged the guy line, making the wall twitch. I held my breath. The steps were measured, weirdly calm. No heavy breathing, no muttering, nothing human to latch onto. Just that circular pacing around our nylon bubbles. At one point, someone, stopped at my head. I felt warmth through the fabric. Not body heat exactly, more like the absence of cold. A not cold, shaped like a person, inches from my skull. The zipper at my feet buzzed softly like fingers resting on it without pulling. I wanted to scream. I didn't. I don't know why. Eventually, the steps resumed, moving away, then fading. I lay rigid, waiting for morning. I woke to sunlight and the smell of damp ash. For a split second, I convinced myself it had been a dream. Then I stepped out of the tent. The ground told the truth. A perfect circle of disturbed needles surrounded our little cluster of tents, no more than a meter out. The ring was so clean it looked carved. Every other inch of the site was untouched. Outside that circle, another ring, wider, where something had walked earlier in the night. "Guys," I said, "you need to see this." We all stared at it. No tracks leading in or out, just rings. "Bear?" Dylan offered weakly. "Bears don't pace like they're on a track," my brother said. The lake was still, sky low and gray. We packed up fast, talking logistics, pretending nothing was wrong. No one mentioned the paddling sounds. No one mentioned the warmth at their heads, or the way the zipper had whispered under someone's fingers. We paddled hard that day. Our last night, we stayed on a big popular lake closer to the access point. Someone had left a ring of stones from an old fire, trash in the pit. It felt almost urban compared to the point. I thought, stupidly, that meant we were safe. Around midnight, it started raining. I'd just drifted off when I heard it. Footsteps. Not in a circle this time. Inside the tent. Soft impressions pressing down into the floor between our sleeping pads. One after the other, as if someone was walking a careful pattern between our bodies. I felt weight settle near my hip, right where that warmth had been the night before. The fabric dipped, tight over nothing visible. Across from me, Zoe's breathing hitched, then went shallow. I could tell she was awake and pretending not to be. The footsteps inside the tent ended near the door. The zipper moved, just a few teeth, just enough to let in a line of cold air. Then nothing. In the morning, the inside of the tent was dusty with disturbed grit, as if someone with dried mud on their boots had paced there for an hour. The outer circle on the ground was gone. The inner ring was faint. But under the fly, pressed right up against the spot where my head had been, lay a single, perfect boot print. It wasn't ours. The sole pattern was wrong. Too narrow. Too long. I haven't camped in Algonquin since. I book cabins now. Hard walls, locks, neighbors. It doesn't matter. Some nights, I wake up to the sound of soft footsteps making slow circles in my apartment. Around the bed, tighter and tighter, until I feel that same not cold leaning over my skull, waiting for the moment I pretend to be asleep. The echo came back across the lake before we shouted, our own laughter half a second early. Lights from our headlamps hit the opposite shore and shone back from mid-air. And when the roll call finished, two of us answered the same name. My name is Ethan. I used to lead kids' canoe trips in British Columbia near the Shuswap, up where the lakes twist into long, narrow arms between dark hills. This was supposed to be an easy 3-day loop. 10 teenagers, 2 junior leaders, and me. By the second night, everyone was exhausted. Wind all day, choppy crossings, one minor capsize. We needed a good camp. The site we found looked perfect. Small pebble beach, steep forest behind, and the kind of silence that feels like thick glass over the water. We set up 3 big group tents and started dinner. The kids' nerves were frayed enough that even I was glad it was quiet. No other camps, no boat motors, just loon calls far down lake. After dark, the stars came out hard. City kids went crazy, lying on the rocks, pointing, taking pictures that would show nothing but black later. Somebody suggested hearing their real echo for the first time. So they lined up at the water's edge, 10 silhouettes against starlight, and on 3 they all shouted into the dark. What came back didn't match. Before their voices hit full volume, another sound washed across the lake. 10 voices, same timbre, same pitch, same dumb joke, but half a second early. The real shout slammed into it, overlapping, muddied. The kids laughed, said, "Whoa, that was weird," and wanted to try again. I didn't. The second time, I listened harder. The pre-echo wasn't perfectly right. There were small differences. One kid's lisp was gone. Another's laugh was a hair lower, like he'd aged a few years. It was like hearing practice takes from a version of them that had been here before. I clapped my hands. "Okay, that's enough noise for one night." We pulled them back to the fire, told a few tame stories, tried to lean into the camp vibe. The air grew colder quicker than it should have. By 10 p.m., the breath from our mouths looked like cigarette smoke. That's when the headlamp beams started misbehaving. Point them at the trees, you'd get trunks, leaves, normal. Point them across the lake, you'd expect the beam to just go into infinity. Instead, at about halfway, the light seemed to hit something, an invisible wall. You could see dust motes hanging in midair where there should be nothing. If you moved the beam side to side, it slid over that unseen surface, lighting nothing on either side. One of the juniors, Sarah, tried to play it off like fog, but there was no fog. The air was too dry. We were below freezing by then. We got the kids into tents early. I made one last round, checking guy lines and zippers. The darkness beyond the fire's orange circle felt thick, like the unseen wall over the lake had wrapped around behind us, too. I lay in my own small guide tent, a little above the group, listening to the usual rustling, whispering, giggling. Eventually it faded. I must have slept because the next time I opened my eyes, the world was flat black, and I could hear voices. Our voices. Not talking. Practicing. Whispers from the water saying the same sentences over and over like lines from a play. My instructions about how to hold a paddle. Sarah's joke about city kids and bugs. A boy complaining about his wet socks. Over and over, small variations, getting closer to how we'd said them during the day. The hair on my arms rose even in the cold. Then, very softly, I heard my own voice from out on the lake say, "Lights out, everyone. Time for roll call." I sat up too fast, smacking my head on the tent pole. Down on the beach, the kids' tent zippers rasped. One of the juniors called, "Roll call, guys! Answer when you hear your name!" Except it wasn't coming from camp. It was coming from the water. I unzipped my tent, slow. The fire was a low glow. Silhouettes moved on the beach, 3 shapes, maybe 4. My headlamp was off, but I could see their outlines against the faint starlight. "Ethan?" the voice out on the lake called. I didn't answer. The shapes on the shore answered anyway. 2 of them, in unison. My name twice. One inflection, exactly mine, one just a shade off. My stomach flipped. I snapped my light on. The beach was empty, all tents zipped, no one standing by the shore. But the sand was full of footprints, bare feet. Dozens of overlapping steps leading into the shallow water and not coming back out. Behind me, a zipper crawled open. One of the kids, Malik, stuck his head out, blinking at the light. "Did you call roll?" he asked. "No," I said. "Go back in, now." We had a brief mutiny. Kids poking their heads out, asking who was talking, what was happening. While I was shooing them back into their tents, something else changed. The lake went absolutely, perfectly still. No tiny ripples, no sound. The kind of still that looks fake, like a photograph. Then, from way down lake, we heard paddles. Not ours, not close. Just the hollow dip and pull, echoing off the invisible wall halfway across. The wall reflected sound now, bending it. It made it impossible to tell where the paddling really was. Every few strokes, someone out there laughed, a teenager's laugh, higher, breathless. Almost, but not quite like one of ours. I forced everyone to stay zipped in. I sat on the beach with my back to the water, facing the tents, so that if anyone tried to step out, they'd have to go through me. All night, voices practiced out on the lake. Snatches of our conversations, our arguments, our songs. Each iteration a little cleaner, a little closer to how we'd actually said them, like something was rehearsing being us. Just before dawn, when the sky was a faint smear of gray, the unseen wall finally broke. You could feel it. The air moved. The paddling sound stopped mid-stroke. The practicing voices cut off on a half word. And then, just once, from far out where the water turned black again, I heard my own voice shouted full volume. "Ethan, you're facing the wrong way!" I didn't turn. I watched the tents instead, counted 10 kids breathing, 2 juniors. My hands shook so bad I could barely unknot the food line to start breakfast. We got off that lake fast. No one was allowed to shout, no echoes. We beelined to the takeout, no singing, no games. On the drive back, half the kids said the trip was boring. "Nothing even happened," one of them muttered to his friend. "That echo thing was kind of cool, though." "What echo thing?" the friend said. I checked the rear view. The kid who'd complained stared out the window with an expression I recognized too well, like he was listening to something the rest of us couldn't hear. I don't guide trips anymore, but sometimes, walking along Lake Ontario near the city, I hear it on very still nights. A faint pre-echo of my own footsteps on the boardwalk, half a beat early, like somewhere, some other shoreline already has me pacing it, practicing what I'm going to say. When the water finally answers back.